Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to learn another powerful React hook called useReducer. If you ever wondered what is the useReducer hook, why do we need it when we already have useState? What is the reducer function? What are actions? And when should we use useReducer? Then you are in the right place. By the end of this video, we will build a counter application and understand useReducer from the scratch. Let's get started. What is useReducer? Before writing any code, let's understand the problem. So with useState, managing simple state is very easy. For example, if we import import useState, and for example, we initialize if we want to create a counter, we can initialize it and then current state, and we'll update state by using set count. State and initialize it by 0. Okay, but imagine imagine your application has multiple values, many update operations, complex business logic. Using lots of use state hook can make your code difficult to manage. That's why React provides the use reducer hook. Instead of updating state directly, we send an action. The reducer function receives that action and decides how the state should change. Think it of like a manager. You don't change the state yourself. You simply tell React that what happened, and the reducer decides what to do. There are three things you need to understand. First is the initial state. This is where the data starts. Another is the reducer function. Reducer functions has two parameters, state and action. State is the current state, and the action tells React that what operation should happen. And in this is example, we can clearly see we are never modifying the original state here. Instead, we are returning a new state object. And the third one is use reducer hook. Here we connect everything together. So this is our reducer function, and this is our initial state that we have initialized. Here state is our container for data, and the dispatch sends action to the reducer. Now that we have understand the theory behind use reducer, let's build our counter application from scratch. The first thing we will do is import the use reducer hook. Unlike use state, here we will use useReducer to manage our state. So our first step is to create an initial state. Every reducer needs an initial state. So let's create one. Next, initial state. And our count will be initial count will be 0. Right now our state has only one property called count. Its initial value is 0. Later, if our application grows, we can easily add more properties here. And our step 2 would be create a reducer function. Remember, a reducer always receives two parameters. One is the current state and another is an action. So let's create a function. Has state and action. Now we will use switch statement to check whether the action has been dispatched. Let's start with the increment case. And we are going to use switch statements here, and action dot type. Case increment, we will return +1. And our default would be the initial state. So default is return state. Notice that we are not changing the existing state. Instead, we are returning a new object. That's an important rule in React. Now let's add the decrement case. So here, case decrement. Return -1. And finally, let's add the reset button. So case reset. We will return since we are creating this tutorial, let's also add one more action, that's increase the count by 5. So again, So case increment by 5. This will return count state dot count plus 5. Perfect. Our reducer is now ready. Our next step is to connect useReducer. Now let's connect everything together. Inside our component, we would have to write const state dispatch our useReducer hook, our reducer function, and our initial state. So let's understand what we get back. So the state stores the current data. Dispatch is the function that sends the action to the reducer. Whenever we want to change the state, we won't update it directly. Instead, we use dispatch. Our next step is to display the counter value. Let's display it in h2 tag. Okay. State dot count. Okay. After saving the file, we can see here the on the screen 0. The value is coming from the our reducer state. And our next step is to add the increment buttons. This is our +1 button. +1 button. Let's create another button. It's -1. Let's create another button. This would be our reset one. And we have one more, right? So increment by 5. +5. Let us add our event listener. So on click, we want to dispatch the type equal to decrement, increment. let's understand what's happening here. When I click on this button, I'm calling the dispatch function. Inside the dispatch, I'm sending an object called type increment. React sends this object to the reducer. The reducer checks the action type. It matches the increment case. Then it returns the new state where the count is increased by 1. React receives the new state and automatically updates in the UI. Let's test it. Okay, 1, 2, 3. It is perfect. Likewise, let us add the event listener to decrement, reset, and increase by 5. I'll just copy and paste from here. Here, in decrement, our type is decrement. In reset, our type is reset. And increment by 5. Here it is increment by 5. And let's just test it. Our increment is working, our decrement is working, our reset is working, plus 5 is not working. Why? Okay, let's test again. Okay, our plus 5 is also working now. So the reducer contains all the logic. Our component stays clean and easy to read. At this point, our counter application is complete. Now it is much easier to understand the complete flow. Let me add some good CSS so that it is readable. I'm not going to show the full CSS in this video, or our video will be very much lengthy. So at this point, our counter application is complete. Now it's much easier to understand the complete flow. A button is clicked. A dispatch sends an action. The reducer receives that action, and reducer returns a new state. React re-renders the component. This is exactly how useReducer hook works. And that's our useReducer counter application. Let's quickly recap the flow. When the user clicks on the button, this dispatch sends an action to the reducer. The reducer checks the action type, returns the new state, and React automatically re-renders the UI. Although this may seem more code than useState, it's much more organized for application with complex state and multiple actions. So remember this simple rule. useState is for simple states. useReducer for complex state logic. I hope this helped your understanding reuse reducer hook. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Happy coding!